Craig tweeted out, was last season a fluke? And I was
worried that you'd see that.
No, because I thought it's a good point, isn't it? Like, and potentially true to some degree. To some degree, because when you think about Newcastle, and I'm not saying I know the answer, but when you look at how other teams underperformed and how many of our players performed like we'd never seen them perform before, it made me kind of settle and go, this is our level. Our players like Joe Linton can continue to play like this. And when you look at how we've started this season, it's a huge drop off. And it was covered up by, we won 5-1. Obviously, Manchester City, so we weren't expecting to win that anyway. Yeah. Then the Liverpool game, where they're down to 10 men and we don't have that intensity and that ferocity that won us all those games last season. And that was an alarm bell. But you're thinking, it was Liverpool, Nunes, that can happen. I'm just trying to give the lads as much of a chance as I can. But this game against Brighton was a wake-up call for all wake-up calls for me, because we were so weak and lacking intensity. And this Eddie Howe's thing is, our identity is intensity. It was the softest, most... I was actually angry. I was angry. You know, when you're looking at the players and because I'm now thinking we're giving out bigger contracts now. We're an oil club now. You lads play for my club, but the people I know and love who go to these matches week in, week out, they are paying your wages. And you, when a bus of Newcastle fans have travelled the length of this country, can't be bothered to even run. It was really getting under my skin, and Eddie Howe has a real worry on his hands, because I've never seen us look so soft and such lacking in desire, and that can be where the rot sets in. If once players know they can down tools on you, they will continue to do it if you let them off with it.
Who are you singling out in terms of the players?
It's the whole lot of them.
But I'm genuinely curious, as a Newcastle fan, what are your hopes for this season? You're in Champions League. You're going to see Mbappe at St James's Park.
I don't want to see Mbappe, mate. Not when we make Ferguson, who's 18, look like Mbappe. I don't want to see Mbappe right now.
But what are the expectations?
I was hoping a top six, because look, we got top 4 last season. We're now into another competition. We spent more money, but there's some real concern. So, I mean, for a start, Dan Burn is getting turned inside out on a weekly basis. Nick Pope looked like he wasn't there mentally. Botman being injured exposed us. But that midfield three is one of the biggest worries, because what I realised is Tonali, and we're learning about him, is a lot like Bruno. And remember when they signed Mason Mount, Man United, and he's two like for like with Bruno Fernandes, and they both bomb forward and they leave you exposed at the back. Who's the 6? Who's the guy who's going to sit there and protect the back 4? And when you look at the actual Sean Longstaff, when you look at the stats and how he starts and how often we win games and how little we concede with him in the team, as much as Sean Longstaff can't kick a ball anywhere near the likes of Bruno and Tonali, you realise we're leaving ourselves wide open. And Joe Linton, he was a monster last season. He looked like a mouse in this game. And look, the effort levels from all of them was pathetic. And another thing is, you're looking at Eddie Howe going, how on earth is Almiron starting another game? Eddie Howe, how the fuck is this happening, pal? And it's just, it really didn't work from top to bottom. It was horrendous.
I think Botman's a miss, though.
Wasn't Joel Linton also slightly injured? I heard some rumours about that.
There's just no excuses for what. When you watch midfielders give a ball away and they go,
was that Joe Linton?
Joe Linton wasn't grafting the way he normally does.
He's normally
and then you look at the lack of creativity for Isak, and I'm like, the guy's one of the best finishers in Europe. We're not creating chances. And the only goal we scored, Callum Wilson came on, created himself, had to make it for himself. We were shit.
The problem
wasn't even a 5 out of 10. It was shit.
The thing we've associated Newcastle with over this last sort of 18 months, I'd say, is tenacity and intensity. Yeah. So when you're watching your team and they're not showing you those two major signs that, let's be honest, they're two biggest strengths. You can go on about individual talent and whatever, but the way Newcastle play as a team and that intensity, ferocity from the first whistle, that's their biggest strength. So when you're not seeing that, it's very, very concerning. But again, what I would say, I think it was 8 before you even got a win last season. And then look then at what you went on to do. And I understand that the league was a little bit maybe less competitive. You look at Man United that finished above you last season. I thought that third place flattered them even. So I understand that it's going to be harder this time round. But what I would say is sometimes change is overrated. And actually, you've got the same sort of personnel there. You've got the same manager as last season before. And I would say that there's more likelihood that Newcastle do get it right. And to look into my crystal ball here, right? Do you know what? I've got a weird feeling about Newcastle this season, and obviously the Champions League draw in some people's eyes might not help them, but I've got a weird feeling that maybe this season doesn't go as well domestically as last one, but because of the fact that if you can get back to that ferociousness, that intensity of a side, those sides usually fare pretty well in European competition. So I think Champions League could be a silver lining, if you called it that. I think
as in they're going to win it?
No, but we're going to have a nice time.
No, but if Newcastle get past like 2 knockout rounds or something, everyone would be.
And St James's Park would go mental.
It's a 12th man. It's a 12th man.
We got Milan, we got Dortmund, we got PSG, right? And if we're at our best, I'm excited for those games.
Yeah.
If we're at what we watched yesterday, I'm terrified. And I'll give you an example. I'll paint a picture. Do you know when your midfield picks up the ball? And you got your 3-man midfield, you got your 3 in attack, and there's a guy on the ball, let's say Tonali, and he's looking around. Anyone? Yeah. And your team are just like slowly to the left, to the right, and no one's going, give me the ball. It was just a total lack of yes, we're here, we're ready to fucking win this game. Everyone was absent-minded. And I'm looking at Eddie Howe and thinking, what the hell happened to what you built here? Because I'm seeing it go right out the fucking window. And I wanted to get in that dressing room myself at the end of this game and scream in their faces, because if Eddie Howe lets this start to develop, I've seen how it goes with other managers. Once you lose a dressing room, and that's where I'm really worried, is because we didn't beat teams because we were better technically than them. No. We wanted it more. And if we start wanting it less, we're fucked. Because we don't have technically great players. We don't.
Do you think in the minds of some of those players, they're just thinking, you know what, look, we're here now, we've got the big paychecks, Champions League is coming. That's what we want.
You say a hangover sometimes. When teams achieve something, sometimes, I don't know, let's say Spurs when they hit the Champions League final, the following season there was a mental hangover for Newcastle. And look, it's an example. I'm not saying I'm bang on, but for Newcastle, we don't look the same at all. And I'm really, really worried. And when you look at what we've done in the transfer market, right? We bought a left back. Okay, Dan Burn, definitely we could do with a replacement.
A very good left back.
And he is a good left back, although arguably he plays all over the pitch. But he's 18 years old. Is he ready now? If he's not ready now, why are you signing him for 35 million quid? Because we need players for the Champions League who are ready right now. Livramento, did we really need him when we've got Kieran Trippier playing now? I know that he's one for the future, but to me, we need people who are ready for this Champions League games, and we're ready to fucking get in the Champions League again. And then we've bought Tonali, who was pretty much, from everything I can watch, a like for like of Bruno. So we don't have the DM. We've got a young 18, 17-year-old kid in Miley who doesn't seem to be getting a game. Longstaff isn't playing. We're not playing with an actual DM right now. And Almiron's starting every fucking game, but we've got Bonds on the bench who's not actually starting. We've paid 35 million for him. Meanwhile, we were linked with Maddison the whole fucking 2 years. Now he's tearing it up for Spurs, and when we need someone to open the game up, we ain't got a clue, lads. There's no one creating it. When I'm watching Maddison interlinking the play, making things happen, it's not happening. We are desperate for someone like that. So I have to look at Eddie Howe and go, what you did last season, amazing.
But can I say something?
You've got my support, but I need to see more moving forward right now. He needs that from the lads.
Right, we got to be honest, and I take everything you're saying into account. It's true. But you have played Man City and Brighton away, which are very, very tough. I mean, the Etihad is almost like you don't get 3 points. Mm-hmm. Brighton are just on top form right now. Any team playing them, that's a headache to play at the Amex. And then you played Liverpool at home. You got to cut it some slack. These are difficult games that you haven't even got to think about now. Get that out of the way and just put a run together now. I know you've lost 3 already. It's hard to take a silver lining.
Everything you're saying was right, until Brighton. I look at the Liverpool and City game.
Brighton are really good.
Brighton are a good team. We weren't beaten by Brighton being good. They weren't at their best. I've seen Brighton play way better than this.
Even that Evan Ferguson goal, they step off completely, come nowhere near him.
And it's Evan Ferguson hat-trick.
You've got a really good number 9 charging towards you, and you're giving him an open shot on goal.
Where was our number 6? Non-existent. We didn't fucking play one. So as much as I agree with everything Craig said, and I like these lads, I actually like this team. I think we've got a great squad. I love Eddie Howe. I don't want to be like a twat about this. But I wanted to get in their fucking faces and give them the hairdryer.
I'm not going to lie, though. I do rate what Howe's doing, though, ultimately, because it's going to be a mimic of City almost. And I think you're already doing what the City project was, but a lot faster to a certain extent. And if you do look at the players that you did bring in, I hear what you're saying about Lewis Hall. I hear what you're saying about Livramento, but these are good young
good.
players.
Yeah.
Good. And I hear what you're saying. If Trippier, we already have Trippier there, but if Trippier gets injured, you've got that guy there. You've got a serious young player who's going to get this amazing exposure.
Do you know, we just, when we are having first team problems and we are buying backups for the future, that's when I'm like, first team problems are first priority. And that's what I didn't understand.
But you don't want to go out and buy like a Robinho like Man City.
Yeah, absolutely not. But I just don't want to have to look at Almiron. I don't want him to be starting any football matches ever again, especially when he played as bad as he did against Liverpool. And the whole fan base is like, no way can he start the next game. And Eddie Howe, when a manager does that, you'll know what that feels like. When an entire fan base is like, as long as he doesn't start Almiron the next game, we'll know that he's actually learned something. It was like we just didn't even have a chat with each other after the Liverpool match.
I think your feeling around it and your points you've made are completely fair. But what I would say is when it comes to Eddie Howe, he's got a lot of credit in the bank. And that's not credit to say that you can't question any decision he makes, but it's credit to say that it's not time to panic and throw
If anything, I'm worried for him, mate.
For Eddie Howe?
No, because I was watching this game going, these lot will throw you under the bus the way they're playing right now. I have a lot of like emotion built up from watching Eddie Howe give us these memories that other managers didn't give us. And I'm watching this lot stroll around the park as if it's a Sunday league match.